Excuse me, didn't want to burp on camera. Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Writer's Room. I am your host, Kat, the night editor, and with me this evening is...
J.Ishiro, author and alien in a human suit.
And also me, one Florida woman that's being driven mad by Hollywood reboots. But especially now.
Yes.
Dishonor on your cow, J. Michael Straczynski.
Exactly.
So-
Dishonor on your cow. Dishonor on all of their cows.
Tonight we're covering archetypes because, they're extremely important. And why is it that Hollywood and big publishing hate them? And this, I will say, this episode was in fact inspired by a rant from Fiona she gave a while back.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Hey!
Hey, look who's here!
Hello,
It's the Raptor. Yes.
Professor Raptor.
Hey, Professor Raptor, how you doing?
I am doing okay.
Just okay?
getting a-
Can we
well,
make that better?
It's possible, I mean, I got to get the stringy bits out from between my teeth. I had some steak earlier. Just give me a bit. But other than that, we're good. We're good. How are you people doing today?
Damn you, now I want steak.
Very, very good. I actually made my parents a catfish fillet with some string beans and roasted potatoes. It was great.
Why did you turn your parents into a catfish fillet with string beans and roasted potatoes?
There you go.
That doesn't sound... I mean, did you eat them? I don't get it.
No. It was not a cannibalistic episode. Rather, I prepared a nice meal for them.
Oh, okay.
See, even us writers could be like, wait,
That makes a lot more sense. I'm sorry.
So before we go any further, again, as always, YouTube is terrible and doesn't tell people when we're broadcasting, so let everyone know we're live. Second, for a limited time only, like until tomorrow, Scars is free to download today and Thursday. So if you haven't picked up a copy yet, you can go get a copy. Links in the description. And finally, Fiona, tell us why we're doing this. Tell us about this episode and why we're doing it about W5.
Oh, CW5, the newest and latest skin suit, commandeered by its own creator to basically just ruin his own franchise. One, maybe he was too desperate for money, or two, he thinks he's in with the in crowd. But J. Michael Straczynski, why did you want to break up everything that wasn't broken? The original, actual Babylon 5 is very well made. I would suggest buying the physical DVDs for that and ignoring whatever is going to be going live on CW5 later on.
Oh, it's on CW?
Yep, they're putting on CW, and
Wow. So it'll be a bunch of teenagers or below 30. They'll all be shirtless. Even if they don't have to be. They'll be shirtless.
Like any
Here's the
excuse
big
to be
red
shirtless.
flag. The big red flag from JMS himself on his Twitter feed. How can it be used to reflect the world in which we live and the questions we are asking and confronting every day?
Oof.
Red flag, he wants to make it about current year and not timeless themes or archetypes. Because the original Babylon 5 was very influenced by traditional archetypes. Not traditional in the sense of like wherever your politics is, but traditional in the sense it's been going on in a cycle constantly. People keep creating, all these mythical figures every generation. New people take its place, but the whole idea is like, well, there you can spot Ulysses, or you can spot like Achilles, or some kind of archetype.
Well, that was
I'm beginning to think that a lot of these people have temporal lobe problems, because, neurologically, the SPEC scan has in the past 20 years been saying that people with temporal lobe problems happen to have an overabundance of fascination with morality, right? Like that's your obsession. They get obsessed, and a lot of times they get obsessed with morality, and it's like maybe this is their morality, right?
All
So
right,
they're just completely obsessed with it. So what we really need is to get these people a sandwich. No, I'm just kidding. No, but a lot of times carbs does help people with temporal lobe issues, but it depends on some other things, and we're not going to get into that. But yeah, I just think it's funny that basically we've traded the morality of the 80s for the new morality.
Which is no morality.
Yes, it is the multicolored bingo.
Well,
where how you say it, where all the check marks are more important than actually making a character.
And
yeah,
it doesn't matter how vile or toxic a character is, as long as they aren't white. Or
yeah.
men.
I mean, that's the thing too. Is it's like I don't know, like I've been talking to a critic, a female critic from Washington, and she and I have been chatting, and she's really into the inclusion. And my thing is like, that's cool. I don't really mind that anyone wants to come to say like, hey, I want more inclusion in movies. Okay, I don't think anyone has a problem with that. The problem is really when it's honestly that they're tokenized.
Yeah, it is. And in the process of trying to shake things up and be inclusive and diverse, they've become incredibly racist. And Kat and I were discussing that it seems like there's a whole generation that thinks history started in 2000.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes. Well,
And
like, they think that bad French philosophy is new. Like,
yeah.
even France doesn't like postmodernism anymore. Okay.
I think they've gotten more honest about being their moral relativism. They don't need a philosophy to justify it; they just do it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if you think of it, it seems like they have no awareness of Claremont's X-Men, no awareness of the Star Trek shows, DS9.
Well, if you bring up any of those things to them,
yeah,
usually they just say that it's not good enough.
Right.
Yeah, it's not good enough. They didn't do, obviously, like, if it was right, then we wouldn't be fighting for this cause we don't know anything about.
It's why they erased all the pulps that they could from history. That's why nobody in the traditional or mainstream arena of entertainment wants to talk about them. Because a lot of those pulps were pretty daring for even the time they're in. If they actually read Barsoom, John Carter Mars, Deja Thoris was pretty active. And so was her daughter. But do they read that stuff? No.
Well, hell, we were going over the Golden Amazon. I mean, that was what, 40s?
Yeah.
Violet Ray, even though she was a psychopath, was actually pretty damn progressive.
And even the early Superman stuff with Lois, she flying planes, shooting Tommy guns, getting into all sorts of trouble. And of course, now with Razor Fist's video about the pulps, it's like, wow, Doc Savage really did influence a lot of Superman.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a whole nother one, is the fact that the classic superheroes were all pretty much ripped off and horribly plagiarized, with the exception of Wonder Woman.
I mean, how do you not do that almost, though? You know what I mean? It's like...
Well, no. I mean, literally plagiarized, like tracing panels and
ripping dialogue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what was it? Like The Witcher and Michael Moorcock comes pretty close.
Oh yeah, no, that's very true. Actually, you could go on for days talking about the different iterations of not Elric that are out there.
Not Elric.
Yeah, not Elric, including
including
one of my favorite franchises, which is Legacy of Kain.
But yeah, okay, let's make a simple one. The easiest, the most common, the hero's journey. They all want to destroy it. Why?
Well, my guess is because what they accuse Mary Sue's of, like, it's kind of like a reflex out of the hero's journey. Because they don't want to have these characters really have some sort of struggle. They just get what they want, and that's it. And even though some people accuse Superman of being that way, it's like, no, he's just an aspirational character. At least the old style of him was. For him, he wasn't the focal point as much as how he reflected in the cast around him, But that's usually what the aspirational archetype does. Pretty much Gary Stews and Mary Stews or whatever are cheat mode to the max as far as like gaming is concerned. If you want to use that terminology, they really don't need anybody there to help them. They can do everything. And that's like a direct response to the hero's journey. The hero's journey wasn't just the hero themselves. It was all the people around them helping them on their journey, whether it was the mentor starting things off or otherwise.
Well, theoretically, and we don't know how true this is, but Karen Armstrong, who scholar who pretty much did a lot of anthropology and religious study, says she's not the only one who says this, but believes that the roots of the hero's journey, at least for Europeans, was goes back to Neolithic times when they would have the manhood ceremonies where they would take their young men, they would have to journey down into a cave where they would be told certain things about life that were hard to understand. They should be shown the cave paintings and told stories. And then they'd be put through some trial that would traumatize them to the point that those boys knew death was real. And after being traumatized, they were allowed, if they survived, they were allowed to then return to the surface and return home, changed a man. And now they could go on the hunt because it wasn't a game to them. They knew they could die. And that was the original roots. That may have been the beginnings of where that story comes from. So,
I mean, if you read Campbell, like you read his old notes and everything, he just, it's basically a tale as old as time,
Yeah.
It's as old as you can think. I mean, as far back as he could find in, like Sumerian and, different like dead languages. There were stories of heroes that inspired, and that's really all it is. I mean, it's just a story of a hero that inspires, and we like stories. We like narrative. There's a reason why, even like material companies, the way that they sell things is by creating stories about their products, right? I mean, that's what they do, and that's why we all love stories. We react to them. They immerse us. They inspire us. They move us, right? And they don't want to be inspired. I've said this before. Like we look at a heroic story and we're like, man, it'd be so cool to be like that, or it'd be so cool to be anything like that. It's cool just to like want to be like that, right? We want to be heroes. They want heroes to be them.
Yeah, it's like the inverse. Where
and
it's
real quickly, Unqualified's with us.
Hello.
Hi, I just noticed we got 3 lizards and an alien. So, good panel. No. Yeah, no, it's good to be here, guys.
Excellent.
But continue on that point. I don't want to interrupt.
All right.
I mean, that was it. That's basically it. Is that we want to be inspired, and we would love. We know we cannot be Superman. It wouldn't matter if he was green and made of cheese. We couldn't be like him.
Well, the whole point is not to be like him, but even just striving maybe 10% towards being like that, it forces you to be like, I got to do better myself. I have to better myself.
The aspirational hero, right?
Yep. Yeah. And it's not there to put people down because they're weak or faulty. It's there to try to have them do better. There's some days I go into work where it's just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. But then it's just like, I think, what, maybe what I'm doing here will eventually help somebody out. And then it usually turns out it's, giving grandma more vitamins.
But, see, Superman's a symbol. I mean, he's not supposed to be taken quite literally. I think Superman stories, when they have him dealing with real world issues, like, Superman goes and takes all the nuclear bombs and throws them in the sun, or Superman fights the Ku Klux Klan,
or New 52 Superman. Oh God,
it always fails. It doesn't work. And the reason being is that the whole premise falls apart if he's doing that. No, you have Superman fight super villains that represent those things.
What's funny is, Captain America even makes fun of that, right? Like Captain America, the first movie, remember, like it has him and he's like punching Hitler, like the old comics, the pulpy comics that first came out about it, and the character evolved into something more than that. The symbol stands for more. That's what some people don't get. It's called Captain America, but it's more than just America. It's just the sense of individualism and patriotism for something that you believe in.
And
he's just. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, and that is why Ta-Nehisi Coates hates him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, more to the point, a lot of these archetypes came from a deep-seated root of like more westernized civilization.
Yeah.
And what's being upturned right now? Anything that was made by Western civilization equals it's evil.
Yeah.
It's like every civilization has its pluses and minuses, but
it's because it's quote unquote white man, which I don't know. I take some umbrage with that because it's like, what is white?
Yeah,
exactly. We're bunching like,
white is just whatever is the current enemy. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, we're bunching like 40% of the world.
Something like that.
Of geography or something. I think like the Asians are like almost 60%. Or of the geographic landmass, and so it's like, it's kind of funny when they say the white men took over everything, and I'm like, have you been to China? Because I have.
I believe Asia and Africa make up 2/3 of the world's population, if not more.
Yep.
So if anybody's really conquering the world.
But anyway, what I was going to say about that is that, what, as you said, what is white? And that's part of the problem. Is now that's their archetype, evil white man. But what the hell does a Swede have in common with an Italian culturally?
Yeah, and that's where I was going. Is like, what, like, you go to Germany, you go to like France, they're totally different,
and they hate each other.
and what would one American white woman that lives in Florida have in relation to, say, her ancestors that came over from Ireland?
Very little.
No. Except for maybe some of the cooking recipes.
I don't know. That feistiness is still there.
Not to bring the whole projection thing. Whenever I tend to hear this kind of stuff about, the white people, et cetera, right? I tend to notice it tends to be liberal white people saying that kind of stuff. And I've always kind of like, I don't know, for me, I mean, obviously you guys can't see me, but, I'm not white. I've always kind of, every time I hear that stuff, I'm always like, why do you have a problem with white people? You're white.
It's their guilt, not ours.
Yeah,
it's not guilt.
I think they actually enjoy it.
I think there was a one of those, oh God, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's one of the kind of psychiatrists or psychologists rather that studies the different behavior of not like one person but like generations. Evolutionary psychology. There we go. Evolutionary psychologist. And what he was saying is that this behavior is very similar to like headhunting pygmy tribes.
Really?
And yeah, he was saying that what happens is when someone who is not as great of a hunter, when their turn to be a hunter comes up, they make the tribe pay for their hunt. And that's what these people are doing. They're cannibalizing their own to make themselves look good, to put a head up.
Yeah.
Maybe that explains why JMS is cannibalizing his own series then.
I mean, that's, that they're willing to destroy their own. And that includes their own family. Just so they can hold up a head. Like, look at me. Look, I chopped a head off and it was my dad. Aren't I great?
Kind of like how some people reported to the FBI, like, "Oh, my parents went to the January blah 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 thing," just so that way stuff doesn't get flagged. But yes,
I mean, to be interesting and sort of fair about this, I've also seen it for other people too. Like I've seen and met and known people who were Black or Asian or Hispanic or whatever that have like a weird dislike or almost like regional bias against their own culture. And you'll see them mostly, hanging out with other cultures or everything else. And not saying that's bad or anything, but then when you kind of talk to them and everything, it's just like, oh yeah, it's almost like a dislike of what you know in a way, right? And some of it, I think is like a little bit of masochism or something.
I mean, I don't know. Like we'd have to look at that case by case. I think in some cases like that is a little bit different. Like you've got what is it? Just some guy. And if you listen to him when he talks about like he a lot of time he'll say, well, I'm Black. He goes, you people all say that nobody can criticize these people because they're Black. He's like, well, I am Black, so I'm gonna criticize them.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to that, to like not wanting to be held down by some sort of stereotype. You know what I mean? What is it? The racism of soft
expectations. Yeah.
Of low expectations. The soft
low
expectations.
Yeah, the bigotry of low expectations.
Yeah. The purse puppy syndrome.
Ugh.
I think Neostar here has a point, though, that with the white liberals, what it really is they're covering for the fact that they really are racist.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do agree with that. I think that they are. I think because if you look at what they really want to do, they're like, oh, I want segregation, so that these, like, that's what they're pushing in colleges and stuff now, is they want Black only classrooms so that the Black people can learn and not be obstructed by the white people. And it's like, we had that.
Yeah, it was called segregation. Oh man. I mean, another decent reflection, Babylon 5 itself was air quote diverse, but it was diverse in the sense of like it had different characters. It had plenty of what you would consider representation because it had a bunch of characters that were at the peak of what they were, and yet they're throwing that away to make sure. Oh man, some people are asking Straczynski to put X, Y, Z in the show, and I'm almost tempted to make a bunch of puppet accounts and give him a lot of really bad woke takes of like, put that in the show, put that in the show.
Please do it.
So that way he can't use that idea because he's afraid of people giving him ideas and then saying like, oh, this person stole my idea. I'm so tempted because I've seen people's response. There was this one lady that said, oh, I want Ivanova to be Black and a lesbian. It's like, what was Dr. Franklin, chopped liver?
He didn't have a vagina.
And Babylon 5 as is had plenty of strong characters, strongly characterized characters of both sexes. It's like there's nobody that can replace any of those characters, but he's going to do it with the CW. And what's sad is you listen to his old DVD commentaries and he was very adamant against that. Like nobody else can play these characters, but yet now 20 plus years later, he's like, meh.
No, think about it. He's absolutely right. Those characters will never be played again. And he is making sure of that. These happen to be new people that carry the same names. But it's not the same characters.
No, that's why it's CW5. It's not the real McCoy. No. It's some terrifying alternate Earth where it shouldn't exist, but it does. Because that's Hollywood nowadays.
So archetypically then, from what I understand, Sheridan was supposed to be an Arthurian type. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, there was a whole kind of mythos built around that. He came back, like kind of like being sent downriver, to rest peacefully by the Lady of the Lake, but he was brought back. Lorien kind of played that role a little bit, along with like a Merlin type role. Heck, they even had Marcus Cole highlight like, who is this in the kind of the Arthurian legend to make Ivanova laugh. But no, I think the other thing why they're rebooting this thing is because the old Babylon 5 had a lot of Christian themes in it, even though it was highly progressive for its time, but he did beat people over the head about it.
Why must they adopt something that's already been out instead of coming up with something new?
Yeah, I mean, that series was vast enough where he could have set it at any point in time. He could have set it into the future, like maybe 1,000 years in the future. But
yeah,
nope.
Why adapt? Because they damn well know that their ideas suck and their own stories that are morally bankrupt aren't interesting and don't have a draw, and no one would care, except for those perverts who like Steven Universe.
Yeah,
That
it's also
and
kind of
sadly,
it's a function of risk management too, right? It's easier to reuse something that already exists and fucking ruin it than, come up with something new, which would, require talent and skill.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, you've got basically that requires a lot more work and a lot more intelligence than just everything else, because but it seems like, I don't know, like if I were actually trying to make a point, right, then reshaping something isn't what I would do. I would make something new.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be like them acting as individuals and not soulless corporate, boardrooms, which is what they basically are nowadays.
You guys in this chat are creative people who have your own ideas. The people in Hollywood are not. All they know how to do is to take something that already exists and beat the pulp out of it until it's unrecognizable, and then they say, "Oh, it's mine."
Yeah. I'm waiting for the fact when they start doing redoing historical movies to the point where we're going to have the reboot of World War II, but in this version,
oh boy,
they kind of already been doing that though.
Dude, I can't.
Mussolini's a transsexual.
Dude, I can't wait for them to reboot all those classic war movies. Can you imagine them like rebooting freaking The Longest Day? Or
I want
Goddamn Bridge Too Far.
Oh, and apparently there's going to be
to be redone. Bollywood's all dudes doing like super amazing heroic things.
What's even more interesting and regrettable, they're doing a remake of Battlestar Galactica again.
Again?
Yeah,
yep.
They are.
Yeah.
It's like that original story was already told. The reimagining didn't really add much to it other than like depression. And even looking at Space 1999, it's like, you know what? That thing did the Ancient Earth angle better. Because I just finished season 1 of that.
Well, you want to talk about a show with Christian overtones? Space 1999. If you're paying attention.
Oh yeah.
And season 2 definitely even gets there even further. Have you gotten to the episode of the Evil Feminist Planet yet?
The Evil Feminist
Oh God.
I'm serious.
Was that in season 1? Because I know
season 2.
Because I haven't started season 2 yet, but even in season 1, they had the 2 warring planets where one was typified as an all-female planet and the other one was an all-male planet or something, and they were at war with each other, and the poor moon base got caught in the middle. But man, Commander Koenig's, he's a wily person. Ooh, but you gotta kind of have to be. But no, it has a lot of themes of faith and everything in it. And what I'm attracted to is the fact that it has heroic archetypes I can recognize. Yes, the humans make mistakes, but they also showcase a lot of their virtues as well.
And there's another show where you want to talk about a diverse cast.
Yep. Oh yeah. Like the black dude. Like, I haven't memorized everybody's name yet. It takes a few watchings for me to memorize everybody. But yeah, they have the doctor lady that I think is married to Commander Koenig, and or like the actor and actress were married or something. But then they have the Asian chick who's cute as a button, doing all these amazing things, and I'm like, oh my god.
Dominic, I think it's easy. I think if you're a great writer or even a good writer, and you're talking to your agent, and they're like, "Hey, we want to sell your book, but it's got white people, so they won't buy that." And you go, "Well, I could make it with black people and
Okay.
and femme
You're gonna
whatever."
tell the story?
Oh God.
I've got a story to tell.
Yeah, this
Oh, okay.
We did a signing at Mysterious Galaxy, and it was
San Diego.
It was a local. Do you want to? You do the setting. Set it up for me.
Oh, okay. Well, it was the local authors night. Mysterious Galaxy actually was very supportive of all the local talent, and once a month they would have like this great meet and greet, coffee and donuts with the local creators, and which is really cool because Jonathan Mayberry is local, and so he'd come out along with
Weston Oaks.
Yeah, Weston Oaks, but then also you get, college students and people who are just breaking in, and just all the local talent from A to Z was there, and it was a wonderful melting pot. And they would have this forum where if you had a new book coming out, you could get up and you had your 5 minutes to tell everybody about it, and basically sell them on purchasing the book for the evening. And there was one gentleman. Do you want to take it away?
Okay. So there's one guy that got up there and did this long talk about this children's book he had written, and it was for his son. He had written it for his son. The character was named after his son. And it was illustrated. So the original illustrations were based on his son. And the publisher came to him and he explained, well, yeah, but they really felt that wasn't really what the market wanted right now. And so they had me change the character to a little girl, and they had me, redraw the character as a girl. And, I was thoroughly disgusted with this man. I was so disgusted.
You can't even talk about it.
That this guy would sacrifice this story based on his son to get a publishing deal. Okay? No, thanks, Dad. With a publishing company that didn't respect him, that treated him like shit, and, nobody knows about him, so obviously it didn't work out.
Kind of reminds me of that really horrible move Disney made with the couple that wanted to put Spider-Man on their son's headstone, and they denied them.
So, yeah, I remember that. So that was stupid.
When it came around time for me to talk about my book, I didn't promote my book. I'm a very bad person. I got up in front of the crowd and the audience and I said, okay, well, my story is called Jimmy and the Puppy. And what it was, Jimmy and the Puppies. And it's a children's book. And it's all about how this little boy loves puppies. But you see, he's got gastrointestinal problems. And the problem is that he farts a lot and he's very embarrassed and he doesn't want to do school. But then there's something else worse, as he discovers every time he farts, a puppy dies. And it's just very heart-wrenching. So it's about him learning to deal with the fact that every time he farts, a puppy dies. And publishers were really interested in this book, but they told me, I think a little girl needs to be killing those puppies.
Man.
So yeah, he really did do this.
So, I figured, what? I have no integrity, so I just let them change it.
And the thing is
I'm an asshole. I was pretty pissed off.
Sometimes though, you need a handful of people like you to point out the obvious because others are trying to be too polite not to point out the obvious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I mean, I get those thoughts too. Like sometimes I open up YouTube and I see those bullshit videos from the dodo trying to make you feel all happy about animals and shit. And I just think like one of these days you should make a fake dodo channel, but instead it's like a butcher house and it's just them like fucking killing pigs and shit.
Well, the funny thing is there's an audience there and it was a mixed crowd because, this Mysterious Galaxy at the time had been a very famous bookstore. And they did sci-fi, mystery, and romance was the three that they specialized in.
And horror.
And horror. And so you had those three audiences. Of course, you had all the horror dudes in the audience loving this every second of it, laughing. Mm-hmm. But then you had all these middle-aged women that was just jaws agape. That I'm describing the story of puppies dying whenever this boy farts. And
yeah, I mean, sometimes it would even take me a little bit to be like, that's where the connection's at. But at this point, I'm far less polite than I used to be. I'm a bit more blunt. It's kind of required now. I mean, the thing is, I think the reason why so much modernism takes away the classic archetypes is because they treat boys growing into men as what they are versus the mindset that, oh, all the boys are defective girls growing up.
True. Well, the classic hero's journey is asking the question, when does a boy become a man? That has always been the basis of the hero's journey. And it's his journey from being a boy to becoming an adult and taking on adult responsibilities and learning that there are consequences and death is real. And I mean, it's all there in Star Wars. I mean, it's amazing how well that first Star Wars film just crystallizes that journey perfectly.
And the thing is, it's not that female characters don't have that journey. They have a different form of a hero's journey, but it's more in tune with what, are more of a woman's strengths.
Kat?
Exactly.
You've got some opinions on that.
Oh, well, Fiona, did you have more to your thought?
Well, because a lot of modern stuff doesn't play up what women are more naturally inclined to showcase, like usually stronger social bonds. We're not outwardly aggressive usually, but damn if we don't plot behind the scene.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Boo. There's a reason why they have a saying where the woman's kind of like the steel in the velvet glove.
Mm-hmm.
We show our steel in a different way from the guys. The guys have more outward bravado, generally. So they're treating a lot of these air quote strong female characters nowadays as a defective male,
which is very Freudian. Actually, the Dowdy Ching has a great likeness where, or likeness, that's not the term, but, and I'm sure, Buddy, you already knew this, where, men have a hard strength, but women have that soft strength. And even, water can wear away mountains. So it's likening it to that. And I've come to the realization that if you need to have an example of the female hero's journey, it's almost everything Jane Austen ever wrote.
Elaborate.
And what I mean by that is, if the man's journey or a male hero's journey, in a sense, is when do you know that you're a man? With women, it's how do you know that you're a woman? And I don't mean biologically speaking. What is the point where you can say, I'm no longer a little girl mentally, I am now a full-blown adult? And in every Jane Austen story, you have the woman who usually she's independently minded. She has other people trying to tell her what she needs to do with her life. And at one point she figures out, shove it. Okay. She figures out she needs to make her own destiny. There's always going to be adversity, but not from a dragon or from some, from Darth Vader or some big bad creature. No, it's adversity from society, almost from within.
It's usually emotional conflict.
Exactly. Or not just emotional conflict, it's almost usually her position in the world will become threatened. In Pride and Prejudice, it's when Lydia runs off with Mr. Wickham. Well, because of that, her entire family has been tainted. Who would want to associate with a family that has raised this unruly girl who's run off to basically become a whore to a known ruffian and a scoundrel? You have the fact in Sense and Sensibility, right off the bat, her family is thrown off of the level of society they grew up in. They grew up as being very high up there and well-to-do to nearly being paupers. And I can go down the list, but there's always this overcoming that sort of adversity. And then in the end, she knows that she's a woman because she has overcome all of these obstacles, and now she gets to be with the man that she desires, not that society wants her to be with, not because it's put upon her or it's even the right thing to do. It's her making her own choice in her destiny. And at that time period, destiny meant who you would marry. So
and in some stories, like a woman's overall power, she has the capability to decide whether or not that person's lineage and her lineage continues on in some fashion. Yeah, that's pretty potent, you know. And most modernism is terrified of children and babies. You can see it in the way they react with political talking points.
Well, you know, because of what was the nun thing where woman is only her reproductive organs.
God, the birthing bodies, whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I'm talking about it's a story. I can't remember. It's a show now. It's in its second season, and they're all like, a woman is only her reproductive organs. It's the only thing she's good for if she has to have a baby.
Isn't that the
Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah, Handmaid's Tale.
Oh,
there
Lord.
Yeah. And I'm just like, really? Like, I tried to read that. I got through one chapter, and I'm like, ugh.
See, the thing is,
that book's such bullshit.
It is. It's a crap book.
Women are vital in formulating, the early stuff for their kids, to be a certain kind of role model, a different kind of strength from the father, if you're in a traditional relationship.
Women are influential. Women are subtle in a lot of ways. And like you said, women, for the most part, traditionally, and still pretty much to this day, raise the kids. And Panda Power, no, a female's journey is not supposed to be boring. It might not be your cup of tea, but it's not boring. I can probably find you stories if you really wanted me to. But anyway, no, it's again the soft power.
Well, it's technically like a female's journey, a man's journey. If you read the hero's journey. The hero's journey is not about one person. It's about finding a cause and championing that cause. And part of championing that cause is finding other people to come with you.
Well, Well, then when the shit show before the shit show wrecked Game of Thrones, would Daenerys have been a female's journey?
Yes, actually.
From what little I do know of it,
what happens is what she was supposed to do.
I don't think that was boring.
An actual female's journey is begin as a female, accept or reconcile the male or the masculine in order to overcome challenge, and then realize that you could overcome the challenge as a female, which that's what Daenerys does. She realizes, I don't need to marry to do this. I don't need to fight to do this. What I need to do is believe in what I have and what I can do on my own.
But she used her feminine abilities to achieve her goals. And one of those feminine abilities was just like Queen Elizabeth I, dangle in front of everybody the possibility of marriage.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it's using the feminine allure.
Lineage. Like, hey, I'm a Daenerys, or what was it? I'm a
Targaryen.
I'm a Targaryen. I'm the one of the dragon people. Marry me, your kids will be dragon people too.
Yeah, to bring it back to the topic of more things Hollywood is fucking ruining. The Cowboy Bebop Netflix adaptation that's coming out, right? They're gonna basically ruin Faye Valentine, whose entire thing was using her seduction to basically manipulate people to get what she wants, right?
Yeah,
now they're basically redesigning the character to be some fucking, Laura Croft type thing.
Well, they see that as just being a hooker. They don't see that as having. And the thing is, that's got that has teeth, because if you look back, I mean, we always talk about, how do you find out if something is really good? Well, it's happened. It's already, I mean, some of the best stories, come from at least a sliver of reality, right? And if you look in, wars, and you look in, the Spies and everything else, and subterfuge, there were always women on the other side getting information and coming back.
Yeah, Spies, but yeah, definitely Russia. Russia understands the power of a female spy. They also know female torture.
Yeah, no, I mean it's in all cultures, right? Like probably the most famous novel in Japan is Musashi. And like half the freaking cast of characters in that novel are women, and they all have like a major effect on the main character's entire journey. So it's like, what the hell, It's not just limited to the West, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think the biggest problem right now is so much of mainstream, so much of a traditional publishing is so female centric that it's poisoned the well with, providing men with entertainment they can connect to.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's something else. I wanted to bring this up. Somebody said that, okay, you need to realize that the female journey and the heroine's journey and the hero's journey are not gendered per se. The gender of the character matters, but it doesn't. You can have a female take the hero's journey, and you can have a man
like Nausicaa.
Yeah, like Nausicaa, and you can have a man go on the feminine heroine's journey, like Jeffrey. I'm not kidding, seriously.
I'm trying to think. What was it? The one Miyazaki film where it God, what was it? Princess Mononoke, and there's also the other one where the girl met No Face. But I'm trying to remember what the
Spirited Away.
Yes, Spirited Away had kind of a more feminine heroine's journey for San, because she's making all these social connections with all these spirits to change the outcome of what was happening. Versus kind of like how they had San in Princess Mononoke having more of a traditional kind of external, male's journey. But in the end, she discovered some of her more feminine side, and it didn't degrade her. That's the thing. The classical archetypes aren't there to degrade men and women. No. It's there to uplift them.
Mm-hmm.
They're exaggerations or idealization of aspects of that reside in all humans.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that's interesting is that this current woke culture wants to get rid of the Amazon archetype, the Valkyrie, the tomboy. They want those all gone. Which is weird, because those are the kind of women that often can go on the hero's journey, like Alita, which is a film men related to. It didn't matter that it was a heroine starring in it. Men related to that movie.
And the female brain part of myself was like, she's so cute and innocent. Once she rediscovers some of her memories, you can see that overlaying everything. But that initial awakening is just like, you get to see her go through all the steps on both ends.
Well, there was a very visible transformation when she puts the blood of her dead pet on her face. She's like, I'm a killer now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that meant. I'm a killer now.
But it managed to hook everybody with the wide-eyed kind of more feminine innocence, initially. And it's just like, that's what people have been missing, both men and women. It's like, it's okay to enjoy different strengths of both. We're not defective versions of each other.
Well, Alita is great because the angel archetype really is there. She falls from heaven, Zion up above her. Oh no, it was Salem from above. She's found. She is repaired, and now she's living in Iron City, which is a city of sinners. And everybody's trying to get their way back up to Salem, heaven. And in her presence, while she's there, she starts bringing the best out of everyone around her. So anyway, just a thing.
Well, and her plan was to uplift people.
Yeah.
And, some people like Hugo just weren't going to be uplifted.
He was too broken.
So she's like robot Jesus.
And
well,
you know
no, the
what?
Christ tale is a repeating one in, I guess, West and East. That Christ story is just a repeated tale that comes up. I mean, Luke Skywalker, Superman,
The
Paul
chosen one.
Atreides, the chosen one.
Even John Sheridan and Delenn's dynamic, that is like the true masculine with the true feminine, the actual archetypes put together. You see how Delenn and Sheridan bounce off each other as a team. Hollywood doesn't know how to do that anymore.
I think. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
They just don't understand, like, it's okay to have men and women play off each other as men and women. You don't have to put any kind of artificial, oh, this one has to wear the pants. It's like, no, it's about teamwork. And men and women don't always end up in like a romantic relationship. You could still have healthy teamwork between two people that are just regular partners. It's kind of like how Blue Bloods had the one guy teaming up with various female partners, Danny. There's very few things that know how to do that anymore.
So I have to ask a question because I don't know if it was covered before I came on, but is the viewpoint that Hollywood hates archetypes because they're bad actors or because they're incompetent?
Morally bankrupt. They don't want to earn it. The stories seem to be now like Captain Marvel, and I mean they're current She-Ra. You name it. All the narrative keeps being, oh, you didn't need to change at all. You were always great. You just
they don't need to aspire to be anything. They are that thing right now.
Yeah, their only thing keeping them back was society had told them they weren't great,
or they weren't good enough because arbitrary X factor kept them down.
Well, I mean, here's the deal: are they doing that because they want to impress that type of thinking onto the populace, whatever, or are they doing that because they don't know any better?
I think some of it's political.
No, I think it's they don't want to be held to a higher standard, so they are hoping to say it. Well, if we normalize, this way of thinking or that, then nobody can expect more of us.
Exactly.
I wrote an article about this like 2 years ago, and it was they don't want Hollywood wants to remove you from being a decision maker in your own life. Hollywood and big business in general want to make the decisions for you. They want to take your money and say, this is what you need to buy. And this is what you need to watch.
Don't question, just consume more product and consume more product.
I agree with that, but no, seriously, I think what Kat said, that's kind of what I meant by political, is that you notice there's push to make all the villains the good guys, and the good guys are really the villains for having moral standards, and really the villains are misunderstood and great.
Disney made Cruella de Vil a puppy killer, the hero.
And that's what I'm saying, is I think the people making these films, deep down, all these people in Hollywood are horrible, ugly, amoral, disgusting people, and they want to portray they want the excuse that so many people like that do, which is, oh, we're really all like that. Everybody's like that. No,
they project what they want people to know about themselves and not the actual medium.
Yeah, if we have heroes, there are standards.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, I don't know, I got into an argument about, I think it was Magneto, because you were talking about, they always want to, like, make villains more human, and he's like, oh, they're like, this one guy's like, I totally, understand. He's like, I very much more relate to Magneto than I do any of the superheroes, and I'm like, do you relate to a mass murderer? Like, he would kill you if you weren't one of his, period. He would just kill you.
And he doesn't know that because he probably doesn't even know anything about the X-Men or Magneto.
And the thing, Magneto's original arc, which Jim Lee wrecked, totally wrecked, was Magneto, Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
Is so obsessed. He is, doing all these horrible things. He's led a movement.
The whole idea is that he's become what he hated.
Well, the point is he's about to kill Kitty Pryde. And he realizes, I'm killing Jews. I'm the Nazi. And it breaks him. And he actually walks away from the cause. He stops it. He actually starts working for Professor X. That was his arc.
So he realizes like he's becoming what he hated and changes.
At the
and and that's not good enough anymore though. No. He was right because the people he was killing were bad. So
no, it was Jim Lee logic. I want the X-Men to be exactly like it was. We need to go draw this shit.
I mean, he ripped. I remember like the comic book where he rips the metal out of Wolverine, and I'm like, how painful did that have to be to rip metal through your pores?
Was that canon or was that the What If?
No, that happened.
Okay.
No, he attacked him on a train, and he's like, you know what? I'm tired of you. He just ripped the metal out of his skin.
I remember exactly when that happened because that was all anybody could talk about at school. For about a week.
Wait, and what year was that story?
Oh gosh, that had been in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after Claremont.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Also known as not X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was in between because like Chris Claremont wrote for a couple years with was it George Lucas? They both wrote. I think it was George Lucas.
I believe he wrote the Willow.
Yes, they were writing the sequel to the Willow books.
I hated those novels.
He was not a very good novelist. He tried. He had like 3 novels and it just
they
failed.
didn't. What was it sad because they didn't want to make. They didn't want to have dwarves and elves and stuff, so they had these weird other creatures like a furry walked on all fours gorilla thing.
Yeah.
See, Dominic has it right. They should have just kept what Magneto was doing, which was becoming, a redeemed mentor for the New Mutants, right?
Yeah.
Like when he took over to basically, train the New Mutants up, that story was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was a great arc.
Yeah, it was freaking awesome.
Well, classical archetypes for villains, it's supposed to be a cautionary tale, but now postmodernism wants them to be like, no, the villain was right. You're not supposed to want to desire to be the villain,
Well, she had a good reason to kill all those puppies.
Oh, boy.
Well, she had to have the perfect coat.
Yeah.
What woman hasn't, been in that situation?
It was a very dog-eat-dog world in the fashion industry, and she just had to kill all
And they
those
tried
puppies.
to make the Dalmatians evil. It's like what?
Yeah.
The only dogs that are legitimately cantankerous is if they were bred for like dog fighting, and that's illegal.
I'm not.
Chihuahuas are annoying.
It's just ugh. The problem with Dalmatians is that they're inbred, and so they do have a tendency to go insane, and that means they tend to forget who's friend and who's foe, especially if it's a small child. But there are those Dalmatians out there that are perfectly fine and normal, and it's just unfortunately the breed has an inbreeding problem, but that doesn't matter. It's a puppy killer.
Well, they wanted to do the witch from Little Mermaid as a hero next.
Ursula, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, seriously?
Yeah, the idea was that the sea witch was actually raped by Trident and ran away, and so she's basically Me Too'd. And so she's trying to save Ariel. At least that was the draft I heard about.
Wow. We're really going to go down this line.
You know what I think? I think Disney should say, you know what, kids, we're going to stop pussyfooting around. We're going to put the real grim novels out there. So,
those have morals.
So so what happens is she wants to be with a man. She gives up everything, goes up to land, and dies.
Yep.
Because he's already with somebody else. He's moved on, baby.
Okay, well, we've come up to the end of the hour. So, Kat?
Yep. So, final thoughts, everyone?
Hollywood sucks. A big dick.
Yeah, they
All
only
of the
know
dicks.
how to rehash and
Look at the panel. Fiona's got books. Kat and Kat and Ishi have books. I have books. Other people have books. There's a lot of independent material out there that is, far and away much better than what you're going to find at a, by the numbers, by committee story presentation, that you're going to find in Hollywood and just any kind of mainstream right now. So if you want a good story, I would, like Razorfist says, go to the pulp of the old times, or, I think, the books that Ishii writes are kind of pulpy, quite a few of them, there's those timeless themes that are sometimes just fun, and a good writer can take those and turn them into something magnificent. What is it, like the World War Kaiju?
Oh, thank you.
Like, who would really, you would think, like, this has got to be a joke, and then you start reading it, and you're like, oh my God, this is pretty cool. Because he actually invested in it. He actually went and, he looked at, like, what would they do? How would this happen? What kind of jets would they use? What kind of, how would they fight in the air? How would they fight something bigger than they were? All of those kind of questions he took into account, and you can see it. You don't see it because, it's over-explained in exposition. It's because of what the characters and obviously what maneuvers they perform, and that's the story, man.
It was also, I really enjoyed the notion of the having an outlandish or absurd thing and having regular real people react to it realistically.
Exactly. Well, that's how I write my fantasy, is that I don't write characters to be caricatures. I write characters to be on a base level somebody you think you could run into. They just have a different skill set than we do.
Okay. And so panel, where can our audience find you?
Well, they can find me here on YouTube until I finally get the Odyssey thing done. And you can find me on Amazon.com as J.Ishiro Finney. There are links in the description. Today and tomorrow, my book Scars is absolutely free to download. Please give it a look. And I also have Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I also do graphic novels as Josh Finney. So give it a look.
Oh,
yep. There you go.
All right. So, you can catch me on YouTube on Unqualified Comics. I do reviews for comic books, European comics, Bond Disney. I just recently did Black Sad. It's excellent, by the way. And also manga as well. But yeah, that's me. You can check me out on YouTube.
That's French comics for the uninitiated.
Yeah, European comics.
Awesome.
There we go. I linked it. I'm trying to link everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona Wolf.
You're welcome.
You can catch me at sinsofthefae.com or bladeknight.com. Those are both promotive websites for the stories that I'm writing, light novels and comic books at the time. You can find me at the Buddy Lord on Twitter and reach out anytime. I'll be happy to talk to you.
Are the light novels available yet?
Well, the light novel is. I'm still going through editing for the first, because the first one I put out, I wasn't happy with it, so I take it back off. But I can, once it's edited, I'll put it back on.
Yeah, let us know. We'll promote it.
I appreciate that. It is, I actually had an Arizona school teacher grab it and teach it. She wanted to teach it to her middle schoolers.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, she got it approved and sent this letter to me, and she's like, "Hey, I don't really care about the few typos." She's like, "I really like this story. Can I use it?" And I was like, "Sure."
That's great. No, seriously, that is wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, and for the men in the audience, you can't go wrong with DMR books, but I'll link this one specifically because I know usually guys want a certain level of action.
Okay, so where can we
That
find
just sounds wrong.
DMR?
Reading Rainbow. But no, I honestly try to go across a lot of different wheelhouses because in order to learn how to write really quick and pulpy fighting scenes, I usually have to look at stuff that's very oriented towards the male mind. Because, again, for me, women, the way I write my female characters in Uplift Protocol, they fight in a very womanly way unless forced into direct confrontation for things. Even as superheroes, you know?
It kind of reminds me of like the Count of Monte Cristo. Because they've turned the Count of Monte Cristo into a much more masculine kind of thing. But if you read the book,
dude,
it's all schemes.
Oh yeah, it's
he
just
doesn't
straight
touch
up.
anybody. He makes them kill themselves.
Oh yeah, it's straight up cold, soft annihilation.
And then he
enemies.
leaves everybody, including his own ex-wife, and marries a 14-year-old princess.
Yeah, dude, it's some fucking. I'm not gonna lie, the original Count of Monte Cristo is some fucking Chad shit. What the fuck?
Like he makes everybody kill themselves. They kill their own children. And then he just leaves on a boat.
A Greek hottie at the end.
Like, he leaves on a boat, and he's like, I don't need you anymore. You're free. And she's like, I'll kill myself if you don't take me. He's like, all right, I'll marry you.
Oh boy! And for those who do like more rough and tumble, like the Conans of the world, the Brutal Saga by Mr. West, that'll be right up your alley.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I would say if Conan the Barbarian had starred in Yojimbo, that's how I describe it.
What?
No, seriously, that's how it's written.
It is. It really is.
But the biggest difference, like with the usually with a guy's hero's journey, they need a purpose or a goal. Women usually we don't really fixate on the same things that a man would.
Mm-hmm.
Like our drive is to help people achieve their goals usually, but we focus more on the individual versus, say, the guy is focusing more on the group. Yeah.
Oh, dude, Neostar. Seriously, read the book.
The movie and the book are so different.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, seriously, read the book. The book is like the freaking like pinnacle of revenge novels.
All right. Well, I've got to go get some dinner, but I thank all of you for joining us. These are always fun. I love doing these. You want to talk us out, or?
So again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. As always, tune in next week where we will talk about something else. We don't know yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun when we do. And thank you everyone who joined us in the audience this evening. Somebody, Chicken Sith referenced Galaxy Edge. Highly recommend it. Nick Cole and Jason? Yeah, Jason and Spatch. Highly, highly recommend it. They had the name Galaxy's Edge before Disney. So, all right. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.